What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast, a special edition 2-hour show today, live on YouTube, live on Spreaker.com, as I'm joined by Eric Ellis once again. Eric has stepped up to introduce yourself.
Hey, Eric Ellis, one of Ryan's best friends, no big deal.
Definitely. He's stepped up to the plate, talked sports. We went back and forth, debated a little bit. We haven't really debated, much. We've kind of agreed within each other's points, which is a good thing. Because the last thing I want this to be is ESPN First Take with Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless / Max Kellerman, or Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless.
No.
So we'll go.
One day, though.
Maybe one day. But the next part today that I want to talk about, the Buffalo Bills. Number one draft priority. Me and Eric have two different takes on this. My take, or his take, was my original take, but I am a little bit, I really like this next player, the player that I like, and Eric likes this guy. So I will let Eric give you guys his take on who he wants the Buffalo Bills to take, who should be the Buffalo Bills' number one priority in the 2017 draft. Eric, give us your take.
Easy, all for me all day. After last year's debacle at wide receiver, it's obvious to me that they need to go for Mike Williams or Corey Davis, whoever is available at 10th. If they can get Mike Williams, that would be fantastic. That was my preferred choice. But Corey Davis is number 2 if Mike Williams goes before then. See, look at this. The wide receiver core for the Buffalo Bills, if Sammy Watkins were to get hurt, the number one wideout would be Andre Holmes. And I don't know if anyone is really aware of Andre, but he's kind of like a journeyman wide receiver. We don't have these big-name guys that can really carry the load for us.
Well, that adds into the point that the GM is incompetent. It's just.
But if we're trying to transition away from Tug Whaley's, incompetence in drafting, we gotta try and get some young guys who can be really good playmakers for Tyrod Taylor to throw to. And this could also segue in making Tyrod a little bit more of a better quarterback in some eyes. More targets to throw to.
Your move makes Tyrod a better quarterback. My move makes Tyrod a better quarterback. What is it about Mike Williams that you think would make Tyrod better?
One, Mike Williams is a 6'3" wide receiver. Very tall. He had great numbers at Clemson. This year, in total, I think he's had 177 receptions. In his
senior year was ridiculous.
Oh, fantastic.
And his each year as he went through Clemson, his year got better. So he's a finished product coming out of college. And that's important. Corey Davis, who I also like, is really only a 1.5, 2-year guy. Where, it's kind of like, I liked what I saw from him, but I don't know. I think Mike Williams, and plus, you can't underestimate that Clemson-Buffalo connection. There's realism to that, and I definitely think that Mike Williams is an interesting option. If you were to give, you said that he's a big target, how do you think he would fit the offense with Sammy?
Opposite, you got Sammy Watkins, who's a dynamic playmaker. He can make guys miss. He can go down in the stretch. He's fast. He's elusive. He's good. Mike Williams is the guy who you put in the outside, and he can take guys on. He's not afraid to go against guys for the ball. And Tyrod can throw it almost anywhere, and Mike could probably get it. I'm not going to say he's always going to get it, but he's the kind of guy who looks like he's the all-around great wide receiver from what we've seen, from what he's done at Clemson, and I just would like to see somebody who can complement Sammy Watkins and can be somebody else that Tyrod can throw to and get us some points so we can win some games.
Yeah, I agree. Mike Williams is definitely in my offensive player big board for the Buffalo. If I were to do a Buffalo Bills offensive player big board, I think Mike Williams would be number 2.
Right.
The number 1 guy to your Mike Williams, the guy that's ahead of him on my list, is Alabama tight end O.J. Howard. Reason being, O.J. Howard is 6'6", 255, ran a 4.5 40 at the combine, which I'll get to that a little bit later, and is a guy that I think would help Tyrod more than Mike Williams would. And the reason why is because he's a over the middle of the field big target for Tyrod as opposed to a route running wide receiver that could go over the middle and snatch the ball on a bad throw from Tyrod. And Tyrod is not a guy that can throw over the middle of the field very well.
Oh, yeah.
So, Andre Holmes, that was funny when you said the number 2 wide receiver would be Andre Holmes. But when Andre Holmes was in Oakland and before you had Amari Cooper, or before you had Michael Crabtree,
yeah.
Andre Holmes was their number 2 guy, and he was pretty good. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. And I think that being that their offense is a run-based style offense, O.J. Howard would add another dimension into their offense in terms of run blocking as well. So it could be really a case of, player A and player B that both fit the Buffalo Bills offense, the Dennison offense, but I think O.J. does fit better just because they had Julius Thomas in Denver, they had Dennis Pitta in Baltimore, and I like that they do have Charles Clay, and they gave Charles Clay a lot of money, but Charles Clay and O.J. Howard to have 2 tight ends instead of 1 would be pretty nice.
I can't argue with that because a 2 tight end scheme, it all depends on what Sean McDermott and his offense wants to run, honestly. And a 2 tight end system, I think, can be successful, but we've seen Tyrod not do as well with throwing over the middle, like we said. Run blocking, that's one thing, that's great. But we want to see more of this passing.
Their passing attack was 32nd in the league.
Exactly.
I think Mike Williams is a great blocker, but I think O.J. Howard, obviously being bigger, would be better.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe not though. The wide receiver like Mike Williams is probably more apt to run blocking compared to most because he's a bigger guy, and Clemson kind of made him do those things. But if you were to watch a 5, not you, Eric, I know you have, but the people that are listening, if you guys watched a highlight of O.J. Howard, he's eye-opening.
He's great. He's fantastic.
He's not a guy that I would look like both of these guys, let's just say hypothetically the Bills go defense. If both of these guys are available at 10th overall and they decide that Buffalo wants to go defense, Buffalo decides they want to go defense, I wouldn't be against that either at all. But whoever gets these 2 players between O.J. Howard and Mike Williams, I think will be way better than what they had anticipated.
I agree.
And even by anticipation, they're 2 players that are really good. The one thing that I give Mike Williams a little bit of an edge of is the fact that he's the Clemson guy, the fact that he's a wide receiver. The Bills might not feel they need a tight end, being that they have Charles Clay.
That's the other thing. What you brought up with the run blocking with O.J. Howard, I'm sure he's great with Alabama. He was awesome.
Yeah.
And he would be great. He'd be a great target for Tyrod. But for the run blocking, teams know what Buffalo is, and that's rushing offense right now. They're not giving it off to LaShawn McCoy. They are going to probably try to fake it out. Tyrod's going to scramble, roll out, and go to the left or right. They were the first in rushing yards in the entire league.
2 years in a row.
Yeah. And it's great. That's fantastic. Yeah. But unfortunately, that doesn't get us to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Our passing, like you said, is in the bottom 30.
32nd.
Yeah.
And it's mainly due to the fact that they had so many injuries, like you said, at the wide receiver position. But there are realistic concerns with Tyrod Taylor's accuracy over the middle, whether he can see over the line. Exactly. And the one thing I would say is with Mike or with OJ, the fact is that they're big targets for him. So I wouldn't be upset if they went in either direction, really.
I don't either.
I would love it. I would love it if they did get a guy like O.J. Howard, because they haven't had a big tight end like that that's actually athletic. Like, he reminds me of Jimmy Graham a lot. He runs routes real well. He can always get open. He's got great hands. Mike Williams, you made a point about Mike Williams being a big guy. I made a point about O.J. Howard pretty much acing the combine. He ran that 4.5 40. Mike Williams hasn't ran the 40 yet. So that is something that I'm a little concerned on with Mike Williams as far as, like, is he a fast guy? I don't know if he is. I don't know if he isn't, but I don't know because I don't know if he is or I don't know if he isn't because he hasn't ran the 40 yet.
That's a good point.
So
That's
it's on, like if he runs a 4.540, then that changes the narrative a little bit for me. But being right now that he hasn't, only time will tell. I just know too that like you have Sammy Watkins in the first round. You drafted Robert Woods the year before that in the second round. Robert Woods is now gone. Yep. So you're investing another high pick in the same position. That shows two things to me. It shows Doug Whaley hasn't done his due diligence, and it shows that they cannot keep players past the rookie contract.
They can't.
Which is a real problem.
But in this way, at least they're not giving up a first-round pick to get one of these great
No, that's true. They're not giving up 2 first-round picks.
That's true. I mean, I should say that. But.
God, man. I mean, I love Sammy, and he is a rare talent. Like he can run routes better, just about better than anybody. But man, that was a hefty price. If they were a team that they were literally player for player on the cusp of a playoff appearance, I would get it, but they weren't.
Yeah.
And it was just a big mistake. But, that being said, I think they're going to do well with a few things this year. I think Sean McDermott is a decent coach. I think he's bringing in good, experienced coaches. I think that we're seeing a guy that actually understands the nuances of the game and takes them seriously. I think Rex did too, but part of Rex's appeal and his downfall was that he cared more about the bravado. And
he was a player's coach, too.
Yeah, and exactly. And, I would have liked to seen him stay another year, but I do like the McDermott hire a lot. So
I agree.
Only time will tell. If you were to give a Buffalo Bills record prediction, what would you say for right now? Given who they have, given who they brought in, Micah Hyde is a decent addition.
I'd like to really wait till after the draft just so I can see what they do.
I want it now. I want your prediction now.
Yeah, we're doing it based off what we have right now.
What we have so far.
I would probably go... I'm a little bit hopeful for the Bills because I like the coach.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with 9-7.
That and I think that would be, even though they haven't had the draft yet, which is a fair point, obviously that's a huge part of everything. Mm-hmm. But if, we're looking at it at, face value, I think that as of now, I would say 8-8 again. I would say 8-8, 7-9, 9-7. Another,
we don't see them going over 10, especially with the schedule.
The schedule is really bad. Yeah. It's brutal. But again, there's been years where they have had bad schedules, and it looks bad based on the years that teams have last year. But that's what it was. It was last year. It's a new year, new season. Only time will tell. What happens? Teams. Atlanta, I don't think will be as good as they were last year, and I mentioned Atlanta because they're playing Atlanta this year.
Yeah.
The Saints are going to be terrible. Their model of making their team better doesn't make any sense to me. They're trying to build up their defense with a pushing 40-year-old quarterback. If they draft someone in this year's draft, then I would get it, but I just don't know if they're going to do that.
They lost one of their best wideouts, too.
They traded Cooks for virtually nothing.
Yeah.
A first-round pick is a first-round pick, but it's the last pick in the first round. So maybe they'll use it as a trade chip. Who knows? But only time will tell. I'm Ryan Thomas, joined by Eric Ellis. Once again, this is the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Tune in for the final take in which we'll be talking about Dan Bilesma, the Buffalo Sabres head coach. Should he stay? Should he go? The Buffalo Sabres have had a disappointing season, to say the least. What is our take on the current head coach of the Buffalo Sabres?